G'day, guys. It is the coach here. Hope you're all well. This is going to be an interesting topic. I'm excited to chat to my man straight out of Russia. I do have Philippe. No, it's Philip. Philip is joining us from Russia on this community spotlight. It's something that I really enjoyed when I talked to the Asian team. I did have a chat not long ago with some people in Asia, and it was really cool to understand the differences in our community, despite we having the same models, despite us having the same game, essentially, how different our communities can be. And I think I really want to celebrate it. And I have a very good friend here, a friend of the Discord. And this actually was set up by one of our, not only our Discord members, but a patron said, I want this show to happen. So we made it happen. So I'm going to try to pronounce this in Russia. I've got my little shot of vodka here. If I say cheers, is it Yura or Yura? How do I say cheers?
You can say cheers.
I'm looking at Google Translate right here, and it has Yura or YPA. So I'm just going to cheers you in vodka. But g'day, Philippe. Good to have you, mate. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Anthony. Hi guys. Happy to be here. Yeah,
that was a Swedish vodka. That wasn't a Russian vodka.
Okay, yeah, I prefer tea.
Oh well, I thought I would celebrate with you. I've got a coffee as well, but I thought I'd at least try to pretend to be Russian. I've got some dumplings, but anyway, Philippe,
okay.
hello.
I appreciate it.
So, Philippe, you are a Russian-based player. You do live in Russia. You play in the Russian ETC team. You are a competitive wargamer as well. So I really want to put a spotlight on the community and get a good understanding of what it's like to play Warhammer Age of Sigmar in Russia. Learn a little bit about your community, what the type of events are, what type of lists are. Are you guys all crazy, all running around with Nighthawk armies? How different is our metas? How different are our events? What should I know? And I think ultimately, I just want to learn about your community, man. I think as the borders reopen, I'm really excited to travel again. So I would love to be a part of more communities. And I've been to England, I've been to America for Warhammer, but Russia, my gosh, I only imagine that priority roles are based on wrestling bears. I imagine that if you fail a 3-inch charge, you have to take a shot of vodka. I imagine, I don't know, like tell me about Russia. Like how far off am I in my understanding of Russia?
So yeah, okay. First of all, I want to say that Russia is a big country, so the answer is to this question may be very different for different people, I think. Yeah, but I love living in Russia. First, I love the people in this country. So, and it's also about LS community. I think when I started LS, I started traveling more around the regions and communicating more with people, which is very, very cool. Yeah, so that's why you are welcome. I think it would be great. Yeah. Secondly, I love nature here. So one of my hobbies is mountaineering. So I'm very familiar with the wildlife of Russia. So yeah, and invite you to enjoy Kamchatka or Lake Baikal or Altai and so on.
That's awesome. I absolutely, Russia is the complete opposite of Australia. Like I look at Australia, where I live, it's almost never snowing. And I remember seeing an image from an event not long ago. I think there was an event was it in Siberia? I think there was a Warhammer event. And I'm like, I didn't, I don't know Russia that well. And obviously I hear names and I'm like, right, well, how far is it from Moscow? And it was just crazy to see just on a Google Maps how far away that event was. And I imagine that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to your community. And again, I just want to give a big shout out to Buckets or Tyler, who is in the chat, who used his Patreon. For some of my top tier patrons, they get to say, they get to tell me what to do. And this was his choice to tell me to have this conversation. And I'm glad we're having it. So a lot of nature, a lot of cool stuff. Tell me about the food. What are some of the cool Russian food? What's it like? What should I be ordering my next meal if I see a Russian restaurant?
Oh, okay. I suggest you to try the borscht. I think this is
Bosh.
this is a very delicious soup with meat and vegetables. Perhaps it's more correct to say that this is Ukrainian cuisine, but in Russia too, there are many people who know how to cook it well. So yeah, I
That's
think.
all right. We all steal ideas from each other. Australia stole the famous pavlova from New Zealand, but we basically just tell the world that it's ours. And because we're a bigger country, that everyone just believes us. But actually, it was New Zealand. And you could do the same, like steal the Ukraine, steal Kazakhstan, steal their dishes, and just say it's Russian.
Yeah, I think it's okay. So to steal good ideas, why not?
You're such a nice person. You're so nice, mate. And you are a top tier player as well. I think that's kind of where I'm really excited, because I see you do really well in Tabletop Simulator, being that that's the only way I can see you play, and you're very big in that community. But you are, as I mentioned, you played in the ETC. And when we were chatting earlier, and we'll get to your ETC stuff later, ETC, by the way, is the European Team Championship. It's a national, well, no, national, a tournament that happens once a year, and it's for Age of Sigmar, but it's also for Warhammer Fantasy, it's for 40k, it's for Bolt Action, where basically send teams across the world to a country, and they all compete. And we'll talk a bit about that later. I know you've had some pretty amazing battles at the ETC. Australia is going to send a team this year, next year actually now. But I want to talk a little bit about Russia, man. What's it like being in Russia? What would I not know if I've never been to Russia? Like, you told me landscape is great. You told me the food and the soup is going to be delicious. What else? What else should I know about your country?
So I think for you, it may be important that it's quite cold sometimes.
So I shouldn't wear this. I shouldn't wear singlets.
Yeah, because for example, this great tournament in Siberia 2 weeks ago. So it was snow on the streets. So, and it's okay for us, but I think it may be quite surprising if you are from Australia, for example.
I haven't seen snow in a very, very, very long time. So, maybe I won't be able to wear this. My traditional tournament gear is shorts and a singlet like this, maybe a t-shirt if I'm feeling fancy. But sounds like I have to wear jumpers and maybe a couple of layers.
Yeah. I think you need some additional equipment here.
So, how did you get into Warhammer? Because I imagine, Warhammer is an English game that has been kind of expanding over the years to Europe as well as Western countries, right? So it's no surprise that Warhammer is in America, in Australia, in the Western community. But I had no idea, or I have no idea if tabletop simulations, if miniature wargaming, if this community even existed in the East. So, how on earth did you get into this game compared to any other hobby or any other game out there?
So I started playing war games quite recently, last year, actually, in 2019. So, and when I made the decision that I wanted to play war games, I spent some time choosing a game system, and so I can see that there are lots of war game playing in Russia. So there are some, for example, 40k community, fantasy battles community, and so on. I chose EOS, and I think there are 3 reasons for this decision for me. First, I really like miniatures, so I'm a big fan of the Frosty Phoenix and Sisters of the Watch and Frigil General and Griffin. Secondly, I saw that this is a young and rather dynamically developing system, so it's important for me. A lot of new releases, new features. It's interesting. And third, I have very good experience with the Russian EOS community. It's very pleasant and very friendly to beginners, I think. So as a novice player, I could always get the right advice or miniatures to try to play, some advice about tournaments. So and it was a great experience. So I'm happy to be here.
Why am I not surprised that the Frost Phoenix is a model that you love? Maybe are you guys scared of Fire Phoenixes? You're like, oh my gosh, it's going to melt my snow. Oh my gosh, it's going to make me really warm. Is that how it works?
I have both, yeah, and I have a list of cities with both phoenixes, so it's okay.
All right. I'm only having a joke. I'm only teasing. I'm prodding you a little, but that's really cool because for me being a Westerner, I don't get to see a lot of some of these communities. Like when I go through some of the statistics in AOS reminders, I see communities like Norway. I get to see communities like Russia, like Sweden, like Spain. And there's all these different countries that I didn't know had communities. And I think as I'm learning constantly. I don't know a lot of Russian Warhammer players. I don't follow them on Twitter. I think I could do a better job learning more about the community. By the way, the chat is talking about Flame versus Frost Phoenix. So people are saying that the Flame Phoenix is superior. So maybe there's a different show there for us. I'm on the Frost side. I'm all about the Frost, but I know some people are building list tech around the Flame. I just don't like the 4-up. It's just too risky for me when I'm spending 300 points.
Yeah, it's very interesting choice. And I know that Tyler Buckets, he loves Flame Spire Phoenix and great lists around.
No, that's awesome. And the chat, it's interesting because the chat is also mentioning. I'll bring up Noah's comment. Noah had talked about the differences. Is there any differences between, or even anything that's unique about the Russian painting style? Again, I don't know any Russian painters. I know of European painters. I know American painters. I know local painters, but I can't say I know a lot about the Russian community, which is again why I'm really excited about this chat to learn about like who are the really good painters. Are all your armies painted like they are on the box, or do you bring a unique style that comes from your culture? I know when I chatted to the Japanese crew, they do bring that anime gunpla style to their models, and it turns 40k or Age of Sigmar models into something completely unique to their culture.
I think there are some great painters in Russia, so great conversions also maybe. And I know some of my friends who, who successfully sell their paintings on eBay, for example. So yeah, we have some good painters here. So that's it.
All right. Well, if you remember any of their names, I know I put you on the spot, and there's a lot to talk about. But
I think we should mention Kartaev here. I don't know if you know this guy or not, but yeah, it's very very experienced painter. You can find his works.
All right, it's killing me. I want to bring this up on screen. It's absolutely killing me. You talked about the Russian community. I want to talk about this. This, for me, blew my mind. I remember seeing it. I think it was 2017, 2018. I saw these photos, and my little mind just went, I'm so amazed. So this, folks, if you are watching the YouTube video and not the podcast, I've just brought up some photos from the cosplay community in Russia. So this is a Russian-based community. This is just a small sample of truly godlike cosplay. I've seen, there's a squig on the screen there. There's a Dwarden there. You've got plague monks. You've got, I think I saw a steam tank. Like someone literally built a steam tank. You got a chaos warrior. I've seen, a war priest. There's free guild people. Like the cosplay photos that I've seen come out of Russia is just completely off the charts. So before I talk about the Age of Sigmar community and get a bit of an understanding of what the armies look like and all that cool stuff, talk to me about cosplay. How on earth have you guys got the best cosplay? Because I imagine cosplay they go to conventions, right? They go to conventions, people take photos, they get all the followers, but you guys have the best. Tell me about this community. How on earth do you have this, and why? Why do you have it?
Yeah, first of all, it's important to say that it's not just cosplay. So it's big field role-playing games. So people meet in the middle of nowhere in the forest, some, for example.
So this is not Moscow. This is not the streets of Moscow. You're all running around with a steam tank. You're actually somewhere else.
So it may be hundreds of people. So, and they create so castles and villages and so on. And so they play this game. They fight using special weapons, and so it's a big event. It's a game and a cosplay, so it's a big community. And yes, we have some traditions for such games in the old world, in fantasy battles world, and also so we have such events for other books, for example, The Lord of the Rings or The Witcher, and so on. Yeah, and
this is awesome. This is so cool, dude. This is so cool.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I have the experience of playing such games, so it's it's very interesting experience. Yeah. So when you visit Russia, yeah, you may join.
That's pretty crazy. That is very crazy. Wow. This is awesome. So shout out to the Russian cosplay / war game community. I thought this would be a nice way to start our conversation and talk a little bit about some of the differences between us and understand a little bit about our differences. So talk to me about the community. Talk to me about your Age of Sigmar community. You've mentioned that it's friendly, it's warm, it's a growing community. How else would you describe the Russian Age of Sigmar community?
Okay, so in Russia, there is the community of AOS players. I think it's important that it's not only in Moscow, but also in many other cities. So during the year before the lockdown, I managed to play at tournaments in, I think, 5 different Russian cities. So yeah, and I can say that the community is quite competitive. Yeah, so the people, they mostly use some competitive lists, and they try hard, but at the same time it's quite I think friendly community. So, and usually it's very friendly play. So that's why I think it's a good experience to play. If we speak, so is your question about meta or?
Well, we can talk about meta in a second. I was going to bring up a photo. I thought I'd bring up maybe some pictures. I'll rotate some pictures as we talk through. But yeah, let's talk about the meta. Let's talk about if I was to go to a tournament or even an event in Russia, is it a lot of people? Am I looking at 10 people? Am I looking at 100 people? Obviously, COVID has obviously changed things, and we certainly have to have a lot of small events, but in general, like before COVID hit, do you have a large community? What are the armies that you would normally see? Is it representative of what you see on Tabletop Simulator, or maybe what you see at large events in America and in England and Australia? Or, is something like, I don't know, Sylvaneth, the craziest army in the world in Russia? Like, are you guys got some secret list tech? And by the way, I just want to call out to Buckets here. There's a Frost Phoenix there. Where's the Flames Fire?
Okay, so we have lots of small local events. It's about 10, 12 or 20 players. And we have several large 2-day tournaments. So they usually gather 30, 40, maybe 50 participants. So I think, our community is not too big. So if we compare with, Australia or England, but I think big enough. So I think, according to my observations, the Russian meta is very similar to the international one. so in this summer and autumn, I managed to play at such tournaments in Moscow, Nizhny Novgorod, Novosibirsk, St. Petersburg, and top players bring exactly the armies that you can expect today. So, for example, Seraphons, Change Hosts, Fire Slayers, one-drop shootcasts, and so on. So maybe in the last season, Fire Slayers were slightly more popular than in the West and had a lot of podiums, but so maybe this is specific.
No, yeah, but what I'm hearing here is that your meta is not that crazy different, right? Like we're looking at the screen here, and by the way, Buckets has schooled me because I went directly to the Frost Phoenix and I saw the blue, and I just got pointed out very quickly for anyone who's watching. There's a flame right behind it. I missed it because the flame was green mostly. Yes, that's on me. I got schooled, but the point is Frost is a Vex. No, but like you can see the image here, right? You've got Cities of Sigmar here. I can see some Iron Drakes. I can see some Pink Horrors. I'm seeing, things that are representative in the local meta across the world. You will see these types of armies. So it's not like you guys are any different to what's happening at an international level.
Yeah, I think we are quite similar because, I have some international experience before lockdown. So, and I think maybe there are some differences, but in general, like we're quite so the part of the big international community. So, for example, the recent tournaments I have participated, they can be described as a quite shooting heavy meta, because now when I prepare the list for the tournament, I always think about how I can resist the Flamers or Iron Drakes or Caradron Overlords or Shooting Lizards and so on. So but I don't think that it's only our Russian problem.
No, but I wanted to call this out because despite literally being on the other side of the world, attending an Australian tournament and then attending a Russian tournament, it sounds like there's not a lot of differences there. It doesn't sound like, again, the meta is the same. And by the way, I just want to call out as well how beautiful that Cities of Sigmar army is. I love that steam tank. I love those gyrocopters. What an absolute pleasure that army is on the table. And I'm sure I'm going to go through some other photos as well, team. But again, it's not like where the painting level is lower. It's not like the meta is softer. It shows again and again. Our communities are similar, yet there are slight differences. Actually, I might go to a different picture. I just want to show. Oh, there's another cool picture. So, what are some of the more popular events in Russia? If someone was thinking about, because I did see that that event in Siberia, and when I Google mapped it, it said it was 4 to 4.5 hours from Moscow to Siberia, and there is a boss fight of a bear. You've got to fight a bear on the way. There's a boss fight, and that's how you enter the tournament. But other than that, like tell me about some of the big events. What are the most popular ones that someone might think about attending?
I think it's interesting that I think this tournament in Siberia, so Ice Hammer is
Ice Hammer, was it? Ice Hammer?
Ice Hammer, yeah. I think it's the main single tournament in Russia. With it's interesting that so it's not Moscow, so it's Novosibirsk. And I think it's cool because it's great incentives to to travel across the country to meet new people. So I think it's great. Players from all over the country come here. This event is not only sports activity, but also a way to meet good friends from other regions. Also we have cool big event, Frostheart in Yekaterinburg, usually in March. I think it's the two biggest single events And usually the main team tournament of the season is called the ETC Challenge. It is dedicated to the formation of the Russian national team at ETC, and the captain of the winning team gets the right to form the Russian national team for the upcoming season. I think
that's really interesting, because I know when I've gone on Twitter, whenever I've gone on Twitter, and sometimes there's discussions about how does the ETC team form, and sometimes people think it's a boys' club where people just, the captain picks their friends, or it's just some random luck of the draw. But for you, and that's very interesting that you guys have a teams tournament before forming the ETC. To basically, it's basically like the best of the best. You're like, everyone's going to compete. The winning captain of the team then gets to pick the ETC team. Does that mean they're just going to go pick their teammates, or do you normally see that they will pick others from the different communities?
Yeah, of course, he can pick others. So because the main goal is create good team.
You want the best. You don't want to pick your friends. You want the best. You obviously want to have good friendships, and you want to be able to have a good team, but you want the best as well.
Yeah, of course. And also our challenge is 4 players event, and ETC is 6 players event for just now. So you have to choose some other players. So, and I think it's great. So I'm not sure that is the best way to create team, but yeah, this is our tradition. So
I like it. I see a lot of application processes and panels, and the captain just picks the team. But I do like that you've had an event that leads into the picking, so you get to kind of almost demonstrate or prove that. And you know what? Even if I'm not in the winning team, I can prove to myself or prove to the community that I'm a good player, I'm a good teamsman, I'm a good sportsman. Because the team at ETC, while I haven't had the opportunity to play at the ETC, I imagine it's not just the person who can win 5 games out of 5, but it's someone who can build lists, who can understand the meta, who can be a good opponent and a friendly opponent. You need to be able to win with grace, being able to communicate effectively with all these people across the world, right? Not everybody has English as their first language. So I think, choosing a team takes a lot, and it's cool. I'm really impressed that you guys have an event leads into the ETC. Yeah.
So now there is lockdown. So we don't know how it works this year. But
of course,
let's hope for the best. Yeah.
Don't worry about this year. I think everyone's okay that things are a little bit different. And this is a silly question. I'm going to ask a really silly question here. If I was to go from Moscow to Siberia, for example, if I attended that tournament, do I drive? Do I catch the train? Can I fly? Is it a bus? like legitimately, I genuinely have no idea. Is it just like regular transportation, or is there like environmental challenges that you need to consider as well, other than the bear boss fight?
Okay, so I travel a lot in Russia, not only to participate tournaments, but also in connection with my other activities, and I can say that there are no problems with this. So since the country is quite large, I often travel by plane. So it's normal that you have to fly 3 or 4 hours to another city. And also it's comfortable to travel to some cities from Moscow by train. For example, from Moscow to Petersburg, it's a little more than 600 kilometers, and you can travel this distance. On a high-speed train, less than 4 hours. And the environment is quite friendly. So I honestly haven't seen any bears on the street.
No bears.
There is one exception, except for a small village in Kamchatka, but this is a definitely very special case.
All right. It's funny because Philipp, this is quite funny because when I was in high school, I had some Americans come to I think I've told this story before, that I had some Americans come to my school when I was, 13, 14 years old. And they'd asked me how I got to school. And I told them with a very straight face that I came to school on a kangaroo. And because I lived in the country, there was a kangaroo paddock. And the Americans believed me. and they were, oh my God, this guy rides a kangaroo to school. But I'm actually now in the same boat, and you could have told me straight away that I ride a bear, and the bear is strapped with my Citadel carry case and a couple of pieces of terrain, and I would have 100% believed you. I'm like, yep, he rides to his tournament on a bear, and I would not have disagreed. I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. Just visit us with the kangaroo. Yeah.
So what are the, if I was to come to Ice Hammer or another event coming up in the near future, what are some of the more common armies that you're likely to see, whether it's the top 5 who are likely to win the event, or even just like what's popular, like what is popular in Russia? Obviously it's a broad brush over an entire country, but yeah, what are some of the more popular armies, and do you know why they're popular?
Okay, so so if we speak about some last tournaments, it's easy to say that one drop Stormcast Eternal's army is quite popular. Some Zinj lists also are quite popular. So of course Seraphons, different types of Seraphons. Yes, cities of Sigmar, of course. Different cities. So mostly, I think, if you speak about competitive armies, it's mostly about Hellheart, but yeah, there are some other types of armies. Yeah, of course, we have some Fire Slayers, and Karajan Overlords. I think so. Quite again, I think it's quite a similar answer for big events in other countries.
No, well, I know. Like in Australia, for example, I'm not going to harp on the cost of models, but in Australia, the price of our models is a little bit higher than other countries, and I know what that means for at least in Australia and New Zealand is that our players don't switch armies as often, so they're more likely to hold on to their army for 12 to 18 months. They'll play a whole year, but when I see some of the other communities, America and England, for example, they'll change armies every 3 to 6 months because they will stay on top of the meta. And I think for Australia, at least, that's one of the cool things about our meta is because when I go to a large tournament, I will still see people running Legions of Nagash. I'll still see people running Sylvaneth. And it's not just 1 or 2 players, it'll be a lot of players. So while the global meta might be thinking about shooting, I still need to think about Sylvaneth. I still need to think about Legions. I still need to think about Chaos Dwarf Legion of Asgore, because again, people hold on to their models longer. Which kind of led me to my question, because maybe, Duarden is something that you guys are really passionate about. And because of that cosplay community, people are more likely to play maybe some of those cosplay armies. We've got a lot, or maybe because, it's so cheap, you guys are just like, or you got such great painters, I don't imagine you're out in the sun as often as we are in Australia. So maybe you're painting more models. So I guess the point is, again, we're all different, we're all interesting, and we're all unique in our own little special way. But what I'm seeing here is just some absolutely awesome photos. And I'll scroll here again. Just your display, your boards are immersive, beautiful terrain.
Nice Rock Eagle, yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting rogue idol you've got there in the bottom right-hand corner. It's just, again, beautiful tables. I would have no idea this is coming from Russia. This could be any tournament anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and if we speak about armies and army changing, of course, we have players who are loyal to certain army and play for it from year to year, and I appreciate it. I think it's cool. However, we also have competitive players who are ready to adapt to changing meta and change armies more often. Yeah, and we have a certain luck in the appearance of new armies, I think, due to the fact that the delivery of new releases to Russia is somewhat delayed compared to Europe or the United States. Yeah, but in general, Russia is quickly adapting to changes. For example, I remember this winter I participated in a team tournament that took place shortly after the release of new Zinj book, and the tournament rules were frozen after the book was released, but before the first FAQ. Yeah, because before the first FAQ, which fixed the most obvious problems. So 80% of the teams brought the Zinch army to the tournament. So it's quite fast adaptation. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, that's cool. I'm imagining the differences. I'm looking at these armies, and like, again, they're just absolutely no different. I would never know. This is obviously, this Slaanesh person's very excited. I'm sure it happened not long before Slaanesh got some rule changes. But we've got Fire Slayers, we've got Cities of Sigmar. We're seeing some very common themes and very beautifully painted armies as well. I absolutely love it. And you've kind of shared a little bit about how players are kind of thinking. Some people will stick to armies for a long time, very passionate about their army. Some people are just quick to adapt, and they'll jump on the new meta. Are you seeing, obviously, at the time of recording, Lumineth and Sons of Behemat are probably our two most recent releases, and now we've got Broken Realms, Marathi. What are you seeing? What are you seeing in your community around the Broken Realms book and the two new releases so far that we've had in the last couple of months?
Oh yeah, we have already. We already do some tests with new releases, so with my teammates, and we are very excited about new Daughters of Cain, because I think it's so it's very beautiful, it's very nice, beautiful models and interesting army. So I'm happy that they can play again at the high level. So yeah, and also as a Cities of Sigmar player, I'm also very excited about new cities rules. So I'm going to test these new opportunities. So yeah, we are very excited about new releases. So
you're thinking about maybe the Harcorn, is it the Harcorn, the new Dark Elf type, basically the new Anvil Guard. Oh, I won't spoil anything for anybody. Read the book, but the new version of Anvil Guard. Bringing in some 1 in 4 daughters. I'm sure you're thinking about some secret list tech here. But obviously, you got things like the new Stormcast. Is Stormcast popular in Russia at all?
Yeah. Stormcasts are quite popular in Russia. So lots of Russian players are happy about the opportunity to play at high level for new Stormcast army after price changes this GHB. Yeah,
they did get some very generous discounts, them and Nurgle. So we haven't seen any rules for Nurgle yet. Stormcast did get a very generous boost. So I can only imagine what they're going to do in combination with their Stormkeep having 1 in 4 cities and what they can do. I know we've got some FAQs to come out and how that's kind of all going to work together, but how are you thinking about? Are you building any lists with Stormcast and cities? I know you're a big cities player, but are you thinking about Stormcast at all?
Yeah, of course. So as a cities player, I often use Knight Encounter, of course, because it's great rules and great model. And also now I do some tests from. For Celestant Prime in Hammerhall. So yeah, that's why I think it's quite cool opportunities, and you know that it's one of important reasons to play cities, because you have lots of opportunities, lots of models, not only cities models but also Caradron Overlords, Stormcast Eternals. Now Daughters of Cain, so I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be very cool.
Because it's very interesting opportunity for list building. So it's quite good opportunities for research to do something new.
Yeah, and it's great that you guys are having events as well, because it allows you to test some of these new rules. I know some of the communities that can't run events at the moment are probably biting at the lip, ready to start using some of these new rules. I know some people are like, oh, I want to face this Sons of Behemat army. I want to see what these mega gargants are all about. And I think, for us being in a community that allows us to play games face to face, Obviously, TTS is out there as well. This gives us an opportunity to kind of see it in the flesh. But I did hear a rumor, and I don't know if you can confirm this, and I hope I pronounce it correctly, but the rumor that I had heard is that, you know how like in the normal tabletop, at least in the West where I play, when a pink horror dies, the pink horror splits into a blue horror, and then the blue horror splits into a brimstone. You know, you replace the model and then it splits. But I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, I heard there's a rumor that in Russia you have a very unique pink horror model. And what happens in Russia is that you don't split the model. You actually like lift it up like the babushka dolls or the madushka dolls, and the blue horror pops out. And then when you split that, the little brimstone pops out. Is that true?
Yeah, it's a very nice idea. I think that in Russia horrors are divided according to the usual rules, but the release of a faction that uses creatures from our national mythology I could definitely bring something interesting to ours. Yeah.
Oh, well, tell me about that. Like, what is in your mythology that you would love to bring into the Age of Sigmar? Is there a model or a range or a monster? Like, describe it to me. Like, tell me about like what would the Russian model be that you'd bring into our game?
Oh yeah, I think my choice is Zmei Gorыныch. So it's 3-headed dragon. So yeah, and so something between Hydra and Dragon, and I think you can provide some cool rules for different heads. Yeah, it may be cool.
I immediately after I said this, Philip, someone in the chat has said bring back Kislev, which is I guess the Warhammer equivalent of. It was very Russian, right? Like it had a Russian feel. It had the Czar, it had the Ice Queen of Kislev, it had
bears, yeah.
Had a bear, yeah, it had a bear, it had the winged lancers. Would you like to see like a Russian type of army? Because we are kind of tapping into, a bit of Asian thematics. We're starting to see the Lumineth have a touch of like Rome and Greece in there. I always felt that the OBR kind of felt a little bit Japanese to me, a little bit. Do you reckon? Well, do we want to see like a Russian version come back into Warhammer? Would that bring like all the boys to the yard?
Yeah, I think that we love this game also because of big diversity of models, of types of models. So, and I think in this case, more diversity is cool. So that's why Russian or Japanese or Greek culture. So it may bring something interesting in this game.
We just won't talk about Egypt. No Egypt.
Okay.
We'll trigger our Tomb King friends. But I wanted to kind of like not wrap up the show. That's not what I wanted to say. This is the last picture that I have to share. But one of the cool things, and this was an example, this is the ETC, the teams tournament that happened in Serbia for Russia. And I found out late the other day when I was chatting to you that you are Arrow. I would never have connected 2 and 2. So funnily enough, I'm like, oh, do you know any of these people? You're like, yeah, I'm Arrow. I'm like, what? But this is the list that you were running. So you ran, Sylvaneth, Flesh Eater Courts, Ideneth Deepkin, Daughters of Cain, Fire Slayers, and Skavens. This is last year, obviously not this year. Tell me about ETC. Tell me about what it was like. Who did you play? I know when I was looking at some of and I think, what was it? Like when I was looking at some of your opponents, like you had some pretty amazing opponents. So when it comes to skill level, I would have thought, oh, Russia, maybe you're okay. England and America are amazing, but you guys did pretty well.
So yeah, I have quite interesting experience, I think, because so as you remember, I've started playing for my first EOS game in last year. So but after, so I have quite low experience. But after I successfully performed at several tournaments in late spring, I received an invitation to the Russian national team, and I replaced a player who dropped out at the last moment. So the team believed in me and offered to jump on the outgoing train. So I'm very grateful to the captain of the last year national team and my teammates for believing in me and giving me a chance. And for me, of course, it was a great opportunity to gain experience surrounded by great players and advance my skills in the game. And so I played Flash Eater Courts. It's unusual army for me because usually I play Order, but so my teammates say that all my armies are already picked, so I have to change my army. So I have 1 month for training for Flash Eater Courts.
And that's the interesting thing about the ETC, guys. If for anyone who doesn't know, it's not like I can just say, "Oh, I really like playing Sons of Behemoth. I'm going to run Sons." It's actually you often playing what's best for the team, and you want to have like in the team matchups. And maybe you can tell me more about the team matchups. But you've got to have maybe a magic strong army, a good defensive magic army, a fast army, an army that can take a lot of damage because when you go in, it's not just 1 versus 1, but you want to position yourself so you and your team have the best chances to win. And sometimes that means taking the bullet. It means taking the hard matchup and trying to force the minor victory, even if the things are against you. And it's not always favorable. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I agree with you. So these days, in 2019, I have no experience for make such decisions, so I was just happy to follow my team recommendations. But yeah, it was good time for Flash Eater Courts, as you remember. So yeah, it was good army and new play style for me, so it was very interesting. And at the end of the tournament, I had four wins, I think, 1 major loss and 1 minor loss from magnificent Tony Moore. So I hope my debut was satisfactory.
He had 4 wins. You had 4 wins, 2 losses, and 1 was a minor. And one of your losses was against the Count Tony Moore. And Tony is an amazing gamer. He's been playing Warhammer since Warhammer Fantasy, and he's always been a top performing player. So considering you were in your first year of playing Warhammer, your first ETC, that's pretty incredible. Well done.
So yeah, that's why I'm very grateful for such experience. Yeah, it was very interesting for me too. It was my first international tournament, so it's yeah, and I think it's very, very good experience.
What was it like playing with other countries? Like, was it easy to communicate? Was like, did you bond or make any friendships from the other regions? Like, or did you guys just stick to your Russian group?
Yeah, it was very interesting to see different cultures and different game styles. So, for example, of course, English team was very focused on the result. So, and it's okay. But
they go there to win. They go there to win.
Yeah.
They are in the motherland of Warhammer, so there's a lot of pressure on England. If England don't win, everyone else laughs. So they go there to win.
Yeah, but so at the same time, we have played other teams. So, for example, we played with Serbia team. It was fun for me because my opponent played, Nighthound, and he had some bottle of rakia. It's like a Serbian vodka.
Rakia. Yep.
And when he rolled 10 for Nighthound charge, so Wave of Terror, so he drank rakia. So it was amazing. And then he rolled some Waves of Terror at the first round, and it was quite scary for me. But then next round, I've played my Terrorgeist, and I rolled 3 6s for my Terrorgeist, and
from the Moor.
Yeah, for the Moor. And he said, "Oh, I think now you have to drink."
That's 6 mortal wounds for anyone who's playing at home. So that was 18 mortal wounds from 3 dice rolls of a 6. So It's Rakia is very similar for anyone who doesn't know. If you're Greece, you have ouzo. It's a very it's traditionally a very homebrew type. Grappa as well is another type of drink like that. Rakia, good, but it's like an acquired taste. Oh my gosh, having a shot every 10 plus, that's pretty amazing. You would be, and I think that's the cool thing, right? Is you're going to an event with a bunch of friends or your teammates that you've built a relationship over time. It is a holiday. It is a tournament. You are there to have fun. You obviously want to represent your country, but you don't have to go just to be ultra competitive. You can go there to meet new players. I don't know if your team had it, but I know there's an optional coach as well. So you can actually bring a coach, and they are there to support, to give advice. They're essentially a coach, like what a coach would do in a traditional sporting team. So
yeah,
I've said to the Australian team that if they pay for my flight, I will be their coach, and I think that would be very meta. That I would be the coach of the team. I think that's but they need to pay for my ticket. I'm not spending $5,000 to not play Warhammer, so they need to buy my ticket. But I will come. So feel free to buy my ticket, guys.
Yeah, as a coach, you may play, for example, single event before the team event. Usually, there is European Singles Championship before the European Team Championship. Yeah, and then you can be a coach. And it's my experience. I can say that coach is very, very important for big team events, because for player it's difficult to understand picture as a whole. But yeah, coach
because they can tell what's happening in other games. So for you to win the event, you might need to deny your opponent. So if a couple and for anyone who hasn't played at a teams event, and I did a video not long ago with a tournament organizer who does team events, but often there's a cap or there's certain criteria that your team must meet. And maybe there's a couple of wins already that have happened, or maybe some losses that have already happened. So the coach will come over and tell you, oh, you've got to score the objective here. You've got to get that secondary. You need to get 1,000 kill points or more. Otherwise, we're going to drop. So they can really provide you some wonderful insights on how to position the team. And by the way, I've got to ask you, the chat's asking me this. Arrow, is Arrow your nickname? Is that from a comic book? Why Arrow?
Oh yeah, it's just my nickname, and also I have a blog in Russian, so which is Arrow City. So it's about my city's army and other my armies. So I do some reports about tournaments. So yeah,
and you have a YouTube channel as well, don't you?
I have small YouTube channel, and so most of my content so in Russian, so it may be difficult to to follow it, but you're welcome to see some butt reps.
I'll link it later. I'll put the link in there. Go check out his channel. They're very fun battle reports. Even though I don't understand Russian, I can watch the guys having fun, and I just make up things that you said. I'm like, oh, that's what they said. Oh, that's what they did. And just make it up and have fun.
Yeah, if it's interesting, I think we can do some translation for some reports, because so if it's interesting for community. But yeah, I think our main goal, so we understand that there are lots of great English content, and our idea is to develop also Russian community. So we that's why we do some content in Russian, and we think it's important.
That's awesome. And I'm looking at the results you sent me with, I think is it Icehammer? You sent me the list. So I saw Stormcast came first from Valentine. Big Wag came second. You came third with your Lumineth. Fourth was Skaven, and fifth was Fire Slayers. Is that correct? That was Icehammer?
Yeah, that's it.
So shout out to all of those guys. I went to go pronounce, how do you even pronounce that? Person that came second, Big Wag.
Ilya Kuchar.
Ilya, yeah. I don't know how to pronounce it. I didn't want to insult anybody, but again, like it's cool to see that despite we are worlds apart, there is a lot of things that are common to us, but also some very things that are different to us. which probably kind of comes me to my last couple of questions around what do you, based on your observations of the international scene, whether it's through my Discord and the discussions that are happening in my Discord, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram or other battle reports or things that you see in our community, what's different? What's different between us? What's different between us, or are we literally exactly the same?
I think that the most important thing that we are very similar, and so we love this hobby, and I think we have lots of common, and it's more important than differences. So
and differences, by the way, aren't bad. That difference is not bad. It just means that there are things that are unique to our cultures that you like. For example, if I think about the Australian community, I mentioned earlier that our players hold on to our armies a little bit longer, so the meta is a little bit different to the a more English meta, for example. That's one thing that's very unique for us. Another thing for us that's unique for our scene is our biggest tournament happens at the start of January. CanCon. It's one of the world's biggest. It's the biggest world's biggest. It's the world's biggest event.
One day I will be here.
Please come. You will be my guest. Anyone that comes to CanCon is my guest. I will look after you. I make that promise to anybody. Come to Australia, and I will look after you. But the difference here for Australia is that because CanCon is our biggest event, everyone focuses on their army. Like that January tournament is everybody's goal. So we build new armies in preparation for it. We practice for it. And what normally happens is people will start their army with CanCon. That's their first event with their new army. Or it's like the last event. And then kind of when CanCon's over, they start their new year with a new army leading into CanCon. So for us, that's such a big milestone for our community. And we all everyone travels to CanCon. We have like a big party and a barbecue the night before, and we all kind of hang about. That's just unique to us. Is there anything like that or anything that's unique to the Russian community, whether it's Moscow, whether it's like anything that's just unique, as maybe different wasn't the right word, unique?
Oh yeah, it's a very interesting question, and I think it's great that you have such milestone. Yeah, so such a big event.
And by the way, Asmar says that you do the best battle reports in Russia. So that's just what the chat says.
So I don't know. I hope that they're good. Yeah. So I think. I think we have no such a big events like CanCon, but we are growing. So let's hope that for the best.
and you know what? I think that's probably a beautiful difference, or not necessarily a difference, but you are a young community. You have only been in the hobby for less than 2 years. I only imagine that you have a growing Age of Sigmar community. And I remember I saw some pictures of an event, I think one of Russia's first Age of Sigmar events, and it was played outside. It was like in like a wooden like pagoda or some type of like just outdoor area. And I think there was 10 players or 12 players. I think this was 2017, maybe 2018, maybe even 16. But your community is growing and growing like us all, but you haven't lost touch, and you still are, because you're not like CanCon, in Australia, 240 players, which means, like a small community usually bonds together. You share advice, you help each other, and you're all very super friendly because that's all you've got. And I imagine in your community, it's probably like that, where you're all friends, you're all becoming friends, you're bringing people into the game, and you haven't lost touch of that fun, friendly element to the game.
I think it's a very important thing. Yeah, and for me, I think maybe is the most important, because when I started to play this game, I met some great people all over Russia and all over the world, and I think is a very important part of this hobby.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very cool. I think it sounds like a great community. I looked at your photos, wonderful photos. Looks like very friendly. You've been a wonderful guest. You've got a lot of insightful knowledge. And again, you've done really well on the international scene at the ETC. You do really well on TTS and a tabletop simulator for anyone who doesn't know the acronym of TTS. Maybe the last question I'll ask for you, and I've just asked the chat if they've got any questions for me, but maybe the last question I've got for you is, how have you found Tabletop Simulator, and has it been a positive experience for you? Have you been playing games with people outside of Russia? Have you learnt anything, or have you been teaching? Like, what's your general experience of TTS?
Oh, yeah, it's a very good question. I think, of course, TTS can cover only a part of our hobby, yeah? So we can do some painting, some cool conversions in
you do Microsoft Paint, like just like press a button and it's blue now.
Yeah, yeah. But the strategic part of this game covered great by TTS, and I think it's very, very good tool, especially nowadays because of restrictions. So, for example, so last tournament I played, for example, I can play one day with a guy from Germany, from Canada, from Australia, for example. So, and I have, it's very difficult to achieve such diversity in real life for just now. So, and that's why I think it's very, very good tool, and also it's great opportunity to test some new armies. For example, my Lumineth Real Lord army was tested in TTS before I get some models in real life.
I'm going to ask you a question that Buckets has asked, and just know this comes from Buckets. It's not from me if you get upset with this question, but he's asked, who is better? Is it you, or is it Zeljan? Is that how I pronounce it? Zeljan?
Oh, of course, Zeljan. So it's no questions. Yeah, we have lots of great players in Russia. So lots of players that. Yeah, but
all right, bring us home. Who are the best players? Give a shout out to who you think are some of the best Russian players. So clearly yourself, Zeljan. Who are some of the best Russian players?
So yeah, it's very difficult choice for me to say one person, because it's a lot of guys who and even girls who plays better than me, but I'm trying to study.
Give me a group. Give me a group, and anyone who has missed this, I'm sure I put him on the spot, and he'll remember. Like literally, he'll turn off the microphone and go, "Oh, I forgot these three people." But off the top of your mind, who are some of the best players?
Yeah, definitely. If according to the results of the last big tournament in Russia, so it's Valentin Zygmunt from Yekaterinburg, it's Ilya Kuchar, and Sergei Kovrov from Moscow, and it's also Sergei Titov from Novosibirsk. So some great players can't participate in this tournament, but they're still great. So, for example, some people, international community, know Alex Blavinov, who won last European Single Championship last year, for example. So he's also from Russia. So it's lots of great players: Kirill Shishov, Evgeny Safronov, and so on. Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty. There are plenty of cool people. I wanted to give a couple of shout outs to some legends in your community. But I've got no further questions. Is there anything you want to share? Any shout outs? Anything that maybe I haven't asked you about that you think is important for our listeners to know about the Russian community?
So I think that, that we are happy to be a part of international community, and when border will be open, so we will be happy to see you here in Russia, to play some games or maybe do some other cool stuff. Yeah,
that sounds awesome. And you're welcome to come to Australia. I will look after you. We will go to the beach. We will do some cool things. I'll fire up the barbecue. I'll put shrimps on the barbie. No, we have prawns. No shrimps. But I'll look after you. If people want to learn more about you, man, if they want to, I know you got a YouTube channel. If people want to chat to you, or maybe they're in the Russian community and they want to connect with you and find out the events or learn more about the Russian scene, where can they find you? Are you on any social medias, or should they come to your YouTube channel? What do you want to give that a shout?
Yeah, of course. I will be happy about it. Yeah, you may send some links to my channel.
What's the name of your channel?
So the name of my YouTube channel, I think, is Kartaev, so it's easy to find.
All right, I'll put the link down and make life easy for everybody. But go check that out. I'm sure you guys can ask a bunch of questions to Philip. Philip, you have been awesome. Big shout out to yourself and the community. My last comment is probably more to the audience who's listening to this, whether you are on podcast or on YouTube, and that if you find these spotlights, these community spotlights interesting, and you want to hear more about another country, whether it's Spain or Germany or Italy or any type of country, leave it in the comment section. Let me know if you've enjoyed hearing about the different communities. I have really enjoyed hearing about Russia. I've really appreciated Philip's insights, and I've learnt so much about your community. And I'm personally excited to hopefully one day come and fight a bear for priority roll, drink a whole bunch of vodka when I roll my 10-inch charge. I can't do another country's liquor. I need to drink your liquor. But yeah, please let me know if you've enjoyed this and you want to hear more about this. Philipp, you have been awesome. Thank you very much for your time. Guys, let's end this show. Have a good one. Anything you want to say finally?
Thank you. It was great.
Nah, man, you're a legend. You're a legend. I'll see you around on TTS and the Discord as well. If anyone wants to do the Discord as well, the Discord link is below. Go jump on the Discord. Come play some TTS with Philip, and let's talk Warhammer. All right, see you guys.
See you,
mate. How good was that video? Surely it's going to go straight to the pool room. If you enjoyed that video, I would appreciate it if you crush that like button, and if you have an opinion, leave it in the comments section. That lets YouTube know it's a great video and it should share it with other Age of Sigmar players. Cheers to all the bloody legends here on the screen who have financially supported AOS Coach on Patreon on YouTube members. Their contributions have helped me improve the quality, frequency, and the variety of content on this channel. So cheers, guys, you are bloody legends. Until the next video, don't forget to shoot the heroes and have a good one.